It was a quiet Saturday evening, the kind where the whole world seemed to slow down. Kayla and Jordan had just settled into their cozy little apartment for the night. The lights were dim, the music was soft, and the wine was already poured. They'd been planning this evening all week, a chance to finally unwind, reconnect, and escape the noise of their busy lives. Their apartment was tucked away in a charming neighborhood where everyone knew each other at least by face. Most weekends were uneventful, but this night turned out to be different. Just as Kayla curled up beside Jordan on the couch, there was a sudden knock at the door. They paused, looked at each other, slightly confused. They weren't expecting anyone. Jordan got up and walked over to the door, peering through the peephole. Standing outside were their neighbors, Ryan and Lisa, a couple from across the hall they occasionally chatted with in the hallway or bumped into near the mailboxes. They looked casual but curious, a little out of breath like they'd made a snap decision to come over. Jordan opened the door. "Hey, everything okay?" Ryan chuckled, a bit nervously. "Sorry to just drop by. We were just talking, and somehow your names came up. We figured we'd say hi, and maybe hang out for a bit. We don't want to intrude." Kayla joined them at the door, giving a warm smile. "No, it's totally fine. Come in." They stepped inside, and it felt like something unspoken was hanging in the air. The kind of moment where everyone senses something is different, but no one quite says it. Kayla offered them drinks, and soon they were all laughing, swapping stories, and sharing jokes over glasses of red wine. As the conversation flowed, so did the energy in the room. It was casual but charged. Little glances, pauses that lingered just a bit too long. Even the way Lisa crossed her legs or how Ryan leaned in when Kayla spoke, it didn't go unnoticed. Jordan, perceptive as always, caught on quickly. He met Kayla's eyes, and without saying anything, they both seemed to understand the same thing. There was a tension building, not uncomfortable but electric. It was the kind of chemistry you don't plan, the kind that sneaks up and dares you to lean into it. At one point, Ryan looked around and said with a smirk, "You two really have a nice vibe here. The lighting, the music, it's almost like you were setting a mood." Kayla laughed. "We kind of were. Tonight was supposed to be just for us." Lisa tilted her head. "Well, we can go if we're interrupting something." Jordan's voice was calm but direct. "You're not interrupting, unless you want to be." There was silence, just for a second. And then, like a switch had been flipped, everything shifted. The room felt warmer. The boundaries that usually held people in their expected places began to blur. Ryan and Lisa didn't move closer, but they didn't leave either. They stayed, watching, not in a strange or inappropriate way, but like spectators to something real, something unfolding naturally in front of them. Kayla reached out and held Jordan's hand. Nothing more, just a quiet, intimate gesture that somehow said everything. They didn't speak much after that. The energy had already spoken for them. Ryan and Lisa didn't say anything, but their eyes were wide, curious, and clearly locked into the moment. Kayla and Jordan didn't perform, but they also didn't hide anything. They continued being themselves, letting the others remain in the room, not just as guests but as silent observers of a connection between two people that ran deep, unfiltered, and raw. It wasn't about being bold for the sake of being seen. It was about trust, between couples, between friends, and between that invisible line that separates curiosity from invitation. There was something liberating about being witnessed, not for spectacle, but for authenticity, for realness. When the night slowly wound down, the clock ticked past midnight. The wine bottles were nearly empty. Ryan finally stood up and stretched. "Well, we should let you two get back to your evening." Kayla nodded. "Thanks for stopping by." Lisa smiled as she walked toward the door. This was unexpected, but kind of unforgettable. After they left, the apartment felt even quieter than before. Jordan looked at Kayla and laughed.
"Well,
that was different."
She grinned.
Different isn't always bad. They sat back on the couch, closer than before. It wasn't about what had happened, it was about what it meant. That they were open, real, unafraid to be vulnerable. And that maybe the walls we build around our private lives are sometimes meant to be windows. That night became one of those stories you don't tell often, not because you're ashamed, but because it was meant to be lived, not explained.